Hello class, the next lesson we're going to be doing is quadratic formula, and what we're going to be seeing in quadratic formula is that we're going to have the setup in the quadratic standard form, which is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So if it's not in this format, you have to put them in this format so we can go ahead and get the values. So what is the quadratic formula? The quadratic formula helps you find the solutions to the quadratic or the parabola that you're working with. So the solutions, again, in the quadratic standard form, where a cannot be 0 and are given by, and this is the formula that you're going to be seeing, the one you're going to be working with. For the star, you do get this quadratic formula in the formula chart, so you do not have to memorize it. So our formula reads x equals negative b plus minus, and I'll talk about this in a little bit, square root b to the second power minus 4 times a times c over 2 times a. And what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be replacing those values. So whatever we get for b, again, whatever number is there, we're going to replace for b. The a, whatever number is in front of the x squared, will be your a, and whatever value is by itself with no variable attached to it, which is your c value, will go in that place. And then we're just going to go ahead and simplify. So if we go ahead and look at number 1, it says solve equations by using the quadratic formula, round to the nearest tenth if necessary. So we're going to go ahead and look at example 1. Notice that it is not in your standard form, so we have to change it. So all we're going to do is we're going to change this 2 over, and when we do that, it's going to be minus 3. You do have to do the opposite in order for it to cancel. That will give us a 0 on the right side, and that's exactly what we want. So our equation would be x squared plus 2x minus 3 equals 0. Now I can get my a, my b, and my c value. Notice that on my a, I don't have anything, so we have to put an imaginary 1. So we're going to go ahead and get those values. So my a value is 1, my b value is 2, so it's right here, and then my c value is negative 3. So then we're going to go ahead and plug it into the formula. So my formula reads x equals negative b, and again my b was 2, plus minus, and I'll tell you what to do there in a little bit, square root of b, my b is 2 squared, minus 4 times my a, which is 1, times my c, which is negative 3. And that all has to be inside the square root over 2 times a. Well, 2 times a is, again, a is 1. There you go. Now we're going to go ahead and simplify. And what we're going to do now, and in our calculators, if we have one, we're going to go ahead and simplify this on the inside of the quadratic. Of the square root. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So we're going to simplify. When we simplify it, we are going to split into 2 different equations. Reason being is because of this right here. This plus minus you cannot find on your calculator. So what that means is that you're going to have one equation to have the plus and one of them to have the minus. Everything else stays the same. So we're going to go ahead and simplify that what we have in the square root. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so once we simplified what's inside the square root, it gave us 16. And again, notice that what we did is we split up to 2 different equations, one having the plus and one having the minus. Now what we're going to do is we're going to continue with that. And we're going to go ahead and see if we can simplify what's on the square root. In this case, we can simplify that. So we're going to go ahead and do minus negative 2 plus, and the square root of 16 is 4 over 2. And we're going to continue doing that. So then we're going to simplify what's on the top. negative 2 plus 4, negative and a positive make a different sign, subtract and keep the sign with the bigger number. So 4 minus 2 gives us 2, and it's going to be positive. And then the 2 on the bottom, 2 over 2 gives us 1. So that's going to be one of our solutions. But we still need to figure out the other one. So let's go ahead and simplify. And we saw that the square root of 16 is 4. So negative 2 minus 4. Because again, the plus minus is a different equation that we have to do. So here we have same sign, add and keep the sign. So that will be negative 6 over 2. And that will be negative 3. And there you have it. Those will be your solutions, your roots, your zeros, and your x-intercepts for this parabola, for this quadratic equation. So we have -1 and -3. For the next examples, you're going to be doing the same thing. I'm going to go a little bit quicker, but if you're having trouble with it, just go ahead and reach out to me. Or you can also pause the video and kind of look at what was done. So we are going to be identifying our A, B, and C. Again, notice that we do have an imaginary 1 here. So for our A is 1, for our B is going to be -6, and for our C is going to be -2. This one was already in the quadratic standard form. In this format, it was equal to 0, so we didn't have to change any numbers around. Now we're going to go ahead and put it in the quadratic formula, so let's go ahead and do that. So looking at our quadratic formula, we have x equals negative b, which is -6. Make sure you put that parenthesis over that number. Don't get confused with the negative of the number and the negative of the formula. You have to put both. Plus minus square root of b here. Also make sure those parentheses are there. 4 times 1, which is a, and then times c, which is -2, over 2 times a, so 2 times 1. And again, we're going to do the same thing we did on the previous problem. We're going to split this up in 2 separate equations, which is the plus on top and the minus on the bottom. So when we go ahead and split the 2 different equations, we're going to go ahead and see that here we have negative and a negative. That will give you a positive, so it'll be a 6. Then the top one will be a plus, and then we're going to go ahead and simplify what's inside the square root, which will give us 44. And then 2 times 1 is 2. Again, the bottom one will be the exact same thing. The only difference that we will have a minus instead of that plus. And then we're going to continue. We're going to be simplifying that. So we're going to see that 2 is going to go to both of these. So it'll be 6 over 2, which gives us 3. Plus square root of 44 over 2. And same thing at the bottom. It'll be 3 minus square root of 44 over 2. So square root of 44 is not a perfect square. So when we plug it into the calculator, we do get decimal. So it's going to be 6.31662. But we want it round to the nearest tenth. So we have to round to this number right here. And we're going to go ahead and visit our neighbor so we can go ahead and see if that number is going to change. And it is. We're going to round it up, so it'll be 6.32, and that should be your final answer for that equation. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing for the other equation. And for that one, it gives us an approximation of negative 0.316625. And again, we have to round to the nearest 10, which is this one. And 6 is 5 or greater, so we do have to change that 1 into a 2. So it'll be negative 0.316625. 32, and that should be your second solution for that quadratic problem. So on this last one, I went ahead and did it by myself. Again, if you wanted to try it, go ahead and pause the video. Don't look at it or pause it before, and go ahead and try it on your own, and then go ahead and check your results. So here again, my A is 2, my B is 9, and my C is 4. I went ahead and did the quadratic formula just by replacing the A, the B, and the C. I went ahead and split the plus and the minus. Here I noticed that the square root of 49, once I simplified this on the inside of the square root, I get 49, and the square root of 49 is 7, so I went ahead and did that. The only difference between these two is I have a plus on the top and I have a minus on the bottom, and then I go ahead and simplify. You can easily plug it into the calculator in this format, or you can simplify it here. So I went ahead and negative 9 plus 7 gives me negative 2, and then the 4. This simplifies to negative 1 over 2. So that will be one of my solutions. And then the other solutions, once I simplify this, I get negative 16 over 4. And then when I simplify that, it gives me negative 4. So these are my two solutions for example 3. If you have any questions on this, I will be linking some practice problems if you want to go ahead and work them out. If you have any questions, please let me know. And this should be our final lesson for Algebra 1. Good luck.